Hello, Abnormal Investigations. Good to see everybody. I've got an encounter that comes in from Oklahoma. This one here is from a town that I'm aware of, and what they're saying about it is actually true. It was deserted, and I've heard a lot of scary encounters coming out of this town. It may be a place to visit if it was safe. I'm not sure how safe it is to visit, not because of just the cryptids, but because of some of the possible contamination in the town that caused them to close it. So I'm going to look into it. My friends and I awakened something, is what my subscriber says that sent this in. He said, when I was 12, I lived in a small town in Oklahoma that barely earned the name town. We had a grocery store, a gas station, and a handful of houses scattered among the dusty roads leading into stretches of woods. There wasn't much for the kids to do, so we spent most of our time outdoors. Some days that meant building forts of scrap wood or skipping stones by the creek. Other days we'd just roam for miles and miles, joking around and scaring each other with man-made ghost stories. That's how I ended up snipe hunting, and it's how we all ended up on the bad side of something we couldn't explain. It started with Clay, Darren, and Jeremy. They were the three troublemakers in my grade, always trying to top each other with the next great prank. I hung around them not because I was particularly brave, but because we were practically the only boys in our age and in the area. One afternoon, they cornered me in front of the school, joking about how they were going to go snipe hunting that weekend and asking me if I dare join them. At that time, I had no idea what a snipe hunt was, except for some half-remembered mention of a Boy Scout manual. Clay grinned, showing crooked teeth. We'll go Friday night. Pack a flashlight, maybe a snack. We'll trick those little snipes right into our net. I asked, yeah, sure, I guess. I didn't want to look like a coward. Looking back, I should have noticed their smug expressions, but I was clueless and wanted to hang out with some friends. Friday rolled around, and after dinner I told my folks I was going camping with the guys. My mom offered me a half a dozen warnings about not wandering too far. My dad had handed me a heavy flashlight telling me to be careful. My toddler sister Emily waddled by and tried to grab my pant legs, babbling something about wanting to come. I ruffled her hair and told her I'd be back in the morning. We met by the old baseball field at the edge of the woods, about an hour before sunset. Darren lugged a nylon bag, allegedly containing nets and small traps. Jeremy carried a few big jars he claimed were to catch snipes. Once we cornered them, Clay, the wrangler, gave me a grin. All right, buddy, you ready? Once it's dark, we'll head out. Get ready to catch these little things. They're pretty fast, but we'll be all right. I shrugged, trying to hide my nerves. I had this slight prickling sense that something wasn't right. An hour later we were deep in the woods. The sky turned pink, then orange, and finally a dusky purple. At some point Clay announced we should split up, so I followed him while Darren and Jeremy went off to another trail. The plan was, Clay explained, was that we'd make noise and wave our flashlights around, flushing the snipes out of hiding. Maybe half an hour into the nonsense, Clay went quiet. I asked him if everything was okay, and he just snickered. Then he said, hey, do me a favor and hold my flashlight. I gotta tie my shoe. I obliged. He stooped down, fiddling with his laces. Next thing I knew, he sprang up, yanked his flashlight out of my grip, and he ran. I stood there in shock, one flashlight left, my dad's. Clay, I yelled, but his footsteps were already vanishing amongst the trees. I feared it was a joke. They'd all dash away, leave me in the woods, and watch me freak out from a distance. Snipe hunt, classic kids prank. Well, I wasn't planning on giving them the satisfaction of seeing me panic. So I huffed and decided to head back to the baseball field. It had served them right if I just calmly waited there when they came back, cracking a smile at them. That's when I heard a growl. Not a dog's growl, not a dog's bark, not a coyote's yip, but a deep rumble from somewhere behind me. I froze, shining my flashlight in every direction. All I saw were shifting tree shadows, swaying branches, and the occasional glint of my light on the leaves. No obvious movement, no sign of the animal, but my skin crawled. I told myself it was just my imagination, or maybe a raccoon rummaging around. But as I trudged forward, I heard something else, heavy breathing, then a soft scrape like claws on the tree bark. Each time I whirled around, the sound stopped eventually. I broke into a jog, determined to get out. The entire forest felt alive, and not in a comforting way. I never got clear, and I looked at anything. I didn't look at anything, Mike. I was just ready to get out of there that night. By the time I stumbled back to the baseball field, Clay and Darren were laughing, leaning against the chain-link fence, bragging about how they'd tricked me good. Jeremy stood off to the side, arms crossed, looking uneasy. Maybe he had heard something out there, too. Either way, we told them all that they were jerks. They teased me a bit. Then we wandered home, calling it a night. That should have been the end of it, but we'd apparently riled something up out there. Over the next few days, weird things started happening. Darren swore he saw a hulking figure slink behind his dad's tool shed late one evening. Clay's sister woke up screaming because someone or something scratched at her window when she saw what she said, a large dog head at her window, smiling at her. Jeremy found the remains of a half-eaten possum in their backyard, its gut splayed in a circle. I'd have guessed a fox did it, but I'd never known foxes to arrange their kills so systematically. At first, nobody linked it to our snipe hunt. We joked about how the local wildlife must have been rampaging because of us out there. But the incidents got harder to brush off. The twilight, I caught a glimpse of something lurking among the pines behind our house. It was tall, gangly, but moved too fast for me to see more than the shape. More like a silhouette. It slunk away the second I aimed my flashlight. That night, my sister Emily, she bawled for 2 straight hours, pointing at the window, muttering her baby words. My parents said it was just a nightmare, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had actually been at the glass bothering her also. 3 days later, Clay told us he followed the footprints to a cave in the woods. He bragged about tracking this animal, leading him to a rocky outcropping half hidden by brush. He claimed he heard growling inside. We half expected him to say he saw some mythical beast, but he only admitted that he got spooked and ran away that day. A day after that, another neighbor discovered their family cat gutted on the lawn. The entire block started locking windows and doors more diligently. Folks whispered about cougars or bobcats, but nobody seemed certain. One evening, I was in my backyard just after dinner. My parents were inside, and Emily was playing on a blanket, waddling around picking flowers. Emily loved to do that. My mom always let her roam near the house as long as we could see her through the kitchen window. The sun was setting, and I was bouncing a baseball half board. That's when I noticed movement at the edge of the tree line, maybe 20 yards away. A dark shape, particularly hidden by the trunk of foliage, hunched low as if it was watching me. My blood almost curdled inside of me. My eyes, I know, began to water. I was afraid. I silently yelled, "Mom." As soon as the voice echoed, the shape vanished. My mother came out and asked what was wrong. By that time, there was nothing to see. She was annoyed, but I insisted I saw something. Emily, none the wiser, just giggled and fussed. I spent a sleepless night trying not to think about the silhouette and whether it had been creepy, and even creepier because it was creeping closer to my little sister. The next day, Jeremy found a mutilated raccoon on his porch. Its eyes were missing, and scratch marks covered the wooden boards. He told me this is his hushed voice, he said, and a very hushed voice. I think it's mad at us, he said, glancing over his shoulder like he was watching something. Whatever we did in those woods, it doesn't like it. Darren was next to see it. 2 afternoons later, he'd run to fetch a baseball that rolled under the bushes near his backyard fence. In a late afternoon light, he swore he locked eyes with the creature crunched behind him in fallen log. He described it as having wide shoulders and long arms with coarse fur. But the face was what he saw the most. He said it was more human. It was elongated with a flat nose. I only saw it for a second, he insisted, but it looked furious. He sprinted inside, and the time he got his dad, it was gone. The same night, the screeching and scratching at windows reached a new peak in our neighborhood. The police were driven crazy by call after call. Clay's brother had nightmares about the monster trying to open his bedroom door, though no one found physical evidence of that. For weeks our parents assumed we were overhyping a series of normal events, a bobcat, raccoons, or maybe some sick coyote. But we knew better. We had all seen too many glimpses, heard too many growls, and the final straw came when Darren decided we should chase it back to a cave. He coaxed us into the woods with a flashlight one evening at dusk. We thought we was going to rid the town of this creature. After a half an hour of searching, we heard a low, mean, throaty groan. That was enough. We bolted without a word, and then, just like the encounters, tapered off. The nighttime scratches stopped. No more gruesome carcasses appeared in yards. The shape in the pines behind my house never reemerged. We were relieved. But I could tell we were changed. We jumped at every twig snap, every rustle of the bushes. Clay tried to downplay it. We never went back to the woods again. A place that used to be a place that we found relaxing and fun. Our large playground was now filled with fear and shadows. We don't know why it left, but it left as fast as it appeared. Does anybody know why you think this thing would just disappear? Thank you for sharing. It could be that it was trying to keep you out of the woods and let you know not to come to its cave. You all probably went to its house, irritated it. It felt like you trespassed in a sense, and you bothered it. And it was letting you know that if you come to its house, it's going to come to your house. I think it was giving you all a warning for sure. Since it didn't come back, and you say you all didn't go back, it probably took that as you all had kind of an understanding. That would be my guess. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments. Why do you think it stopped coming? I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to share this out, guys. Smash that like button. And as always, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And we'll see you on the next one.